Comparing Anatomy Project Snail and Frog. I'm Niceturn, and my partners are Mara Cordero, Diana Gallardo, and Kevin Aquino. The concept briefing is comparing snails to frogs from their animal background, systems, and evolution.
Animal background of snails. This snail is the animal kingdom and in Mollusca phylum. The class is Gastropoda and it belongs to the Helicidae family. The genus is Helix lineus and the species is Helix aspersa molar. This animal is biotic and it dwells in the lowlands of Western Europe. However, these snails now dwell in several places where they are agricultural pests. It fits into the food web as primary consumers since they are herbivores. In the mating process, snails fire these so-called love darts into each other's bodies while mating. Once a snail manages to shoot the dart, which transfers sperm-boosting secretions, that animal can fertilize the other eggs. This garden snail does most of its day-to-day activities at night or very early in the morning.
So this is the forest grass frog. Its kingdom is Animalia, phylum Chordata, class Amphibian, order Anura, family Rhaenid, genus Lithobates, and its species is frog. These frogs live in lowland and seasonal tropical forest, typically Costa Rica and Mexico. They can also adapt to man-made habitats such as flooded agricultural land and other content systems. These frogs are considered tertiary consumers. In terms of mating, they have mating calls, which are low, soft growling, and reproduction requires permanent pools or lagoons. With mating, they use the active amplex, where both sexes release huge numbers of gametes together in the water, and these gametes come out through the cloacal aperture. These frogs tend to be active at night and hibernate in the winter.
Digestive system. The snail has sphincter muscles, small and large intestines, salivary gland, esophagus, stomach, liver, pancreas, and a mouth.
So the digestive system of the frog starts off with the mouth, and in the mouth they use the tongue to catch the prey. The food goes down into the esophagus and then into the stomach where enzymes are added and food is broken down. Pancreatic juice is secreted into small intestine where fluids digest the food and nutrients is absorbed. Food residue is passed into the large intestine where fluids digest food and more nutrients is absorbed. And later waste is removed through the coccola. Inside the frog's digestive system is the mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, liver, gallbladder, and pancreas.
Snails is complex and highly adapted to reduce water loss. It consists of a kidney and a urinary duct that runs along the rectum and opens near the anus by an excretory pore. The reproductive system of snails is also complex and highly specialized. All snail is hermaphroditic, which means each individual has a complete male and female sexual apparatus. Since a single snail has male and female reproductive organs and therefore can produce reproductive cells of both genders.
So the excretory system in the frog involves the kidneys, which filter blood and excrete excess water, the ureterus, which carry urine from the kidneys to the urinary bladder, the urinary bladder that collects and stores urine until it's released, urethra, which produces gametes, which are released into water for fertilization, and the reproductive system of the frog differs from male to female. So the male reproductive system has the testes, which deliver sperm inside Bitter's canal running through the kidney, and then the sperm exits from the testes through the ureter, and then it delivers the sperm to the cloaca. And then as well as the vas deferens, which is above the testes, and it's in the uppermost part of the abdominal cavity. Sperm travels from the testes to the urethra along the vas deferens. And unlike a good amount of animals, male frogs don't have penises, they have the cloaca. And then the female reproductive organs include the ovaries, which are extended curved ducts with substantial wall that is not associated with the kidneys.
As for snails, they're quite different from frogs. They only need one lung, as they're not really like humans that need a pair of lungs to go in and out from the oxygen and carbon dioxide. For example, that red arrow that's pointing at the right side, well, the top part of the snail, which is an opening, that is called the pneumostome. And pretty much what the pneumostome is, it is a muscle that expands and compresses the opening to pretty much let in and out the oxygen and carbon dioxide.
Well, the frog's respiratory system contains of the nasal cavity, the pharynx, the larynx, the epiglottis, the bronchi, the alveoli, and the diaphragm. The frog's respiratory surface on the lining of their mouth, which makes the gas exchange easier. While at rest, their process is that the predominant form of breathing only fills up in the lungs sometimes. This is because the lungs are poorly although the adult are poorly developed.
The circulatory system of snail is open, which means that the blood flows through vessels, arteries, as well as open spaces called sinuses. It consists of a heart with two chambers, an auricle and a ventricle, two aortas from the ventricle, an anterior aorta that carries blood to the foot and the head, and a posterior aorta that carries blood to the visceral mass.
Frogs have two types of systems for lungs: to the back of the heart, which is pulmonary, and the rest of the body and organs are systematic. The frogs have three-chambered hearts. And then the arteries. Well, the arteries carry away the blood from the heart. The capillaries carry oxygen to the cells and exchange carbon dioxide and dump it out in the air. The veins carry the blood in the heart through the veins, then goes to the blood. The plasma carries solids such as the red and white cells, and their red cells are pretty much the same as humans, which they carry oxygen to the cells of the bodies, and so goes for the white blood cells, which it helps the frog fight out diseases and infections.
The nervous system, it is not like how the frogs are, where it has a brain and such. For the snails, it has groupings of neurons called ganglia. For example, the cerebral ganglia, it pretty much acts like a brain in a way, where it controls all the head motion of the snail. For example, like the mouth, the eyes, and like just anything around the head. Also, it has other grouping of neurons, for example, the pedal ganglia. And for example, that it controls like the foot and such. And also the neurons, they also control other parts of the organs, for example, the lung, heart, and such, to give it signals. For the locomotion system, for snails, they move by the muscular ventral foot. And by that foot, it is produced by the contractions of the smooth muscle. And the salivary gland also secretes mucus for the foot to keep it slippery and to also keep the snail have moisture.
Frogs contain the brain, spinal cord, cranial nerve, spinal nerve, and reflexive reactions, which help the frog like react if there's a sudden movement or something that they should be feared of. The locomotions have the axial and appendicular skeletons, cartilages, joints, tendons, skeletal muscles, smooth muscles, and cardiac muscles. The frog's muscles they all work as a locomotion part to help them move and leap farther and higher.
In the digestive system, the frogs and snails mostly have shared common structures, except that the snails have a salivary glands and the frogs have gallbladder. In the circulatory system, a snail's circulation basically is open and a frog's circulation is closed. For the nervous system, the snails have no brains and the frogs have brains. In the excretory system, snails' excretions take place in a kidney and urinary duct. Frog excretion takes place in a kidney, ureter, cloaca, and urinary bladder. In the reproductive system, snails are considered to be hermaphrodites and have both male and female reproductive organs, while frogs have male reproductive systems that consist of a pair of testes and female reproductive system that consists of a pair of ovaries and oviducts. Some features of snails is that they have no backbone, but they have strong muscular foot. They use mucus to enable them to crawl over rough surfaces and to keep their soft bodies from drying out. They also have a mantle that secretes calcium carbonate.
The most recent common ancestor of the snail and frog is the bilateral group, but it was lost in the ectozoa group. And for the prediction is that during the time, it was going through a mini ice age period called the Cambrian period, which is 541 million years ago, in which the frogs and snails ended up to adapting to land more than water.
Is one thing is their unique features is they have protruding eyes and webbed feet. They also have 3-chambered hearts, and they don't drink water, but they absorb it through their skin. And the shared structures that frogs have with snails are the digestive system organs, reproductive system organs, such as the oviducts, the respiratory system and circulatory system also share many things in common. The nervous system, they share a good amount in common, but unlike the snails, frogs do have brains and the locomotion system. In terms of the evolutionary prediction of frogs, it states that frogs have been developed from lungfish during the Devonian period, and in this time, they used their lungs to leave the water and move on to land.
The snails and frogs shared common features, but some of the differences are the snail circulation is open while frog circulation is closed, and unlike frogs, the snails have no brain.